I was working in construction. The people came to know my caste and they started discriminating against me. I couldn't do anything because there was 10 or 15 of them and only one of me. I first thought they were joking, but no. If I joke with you once or twice, you will bear it. But if I joke with you every day, you won't tolerate it.
For the whole time you've been working there, they bring your caste up and say things about it?
Yes, that kind of made me depressed.
It's really upsetting to hear that someone would feel so discriminated against that they would have to leave their job and walk away from their faith. But what are people doing about it? Right now, there's a big debate in the UK. Should caste discrimination be treated the same as race, gender and disability?
A 14-year-old Dalit girl was gang raped and burned to death in her house.
At a protest in central London against the rise of caste-based violence and nationalism in India, I'm meeting Keval Paradia from the South Asia Solidarity Group. He believes caste extremism in India is fueling the rise of caste prejudice here in the UK and is determined to guard against it. In 2013, the government decided that it must amend the Equality Act to explicitly cover caste discrimination. However, in a dramatic U-turn 5 years later, it announced there was no longer a valid reason to address caste discrimination in this way. This caused anger amongst some Hindus.
It will inevitably end up going into the Equalities Act. That's the belief that we all have, people fighting for the human rights of people suffering caste discrimination. And it's what we're noticing and what campaigners and activists, human rights lawyers have been saying is that there's so many similarities with the fight to get, in the 1960s and 1970s, race added to the Equalities Act. People before that were arguing, no, we can discriminate on the basis of race. And now it's unthinkable that you could do that. But at a time, race wasn't in law. In the future, caste will be added to that. We know that with caste discrimination, there's been sexualized caste slurs being thrown. There's services that have been denied to people in the UK because of their caste. Incidences of trafficking, where people go to India to get a underprivileged person to come and work and essentially be a slave, take their passport, pay them poverty wages. It's on the rise. By not being in law, it's going to be underreported naturally. And to say that it's only an invention in India, again, is wrong. And it's widespread and it's everywhere. Just because it's not reported in the press doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Do you think there is some sort of denial in the Hindu community here in Britain regarding caste and caste-related issues?
Denial, misinformation as well. People who are privileged enough to belong to a high caste don't see their inherent privilege or want to maintain caste structure because they're at the top of the pyramid. There's many people that are okay with keeping the pyramid. There's many people that are saying actually the pyramid should be dismantled and no one should belong to these caste systems because it's a form of oppression and hierarchy. And what we're noticing is that there's always a repeat of people who want to keep that ability to have that power over others and oppress others. But they know that they're going to be ultimately on the losing side of history.
What Keval told me has made me think about the need for clear legal protection for victims of caste prejudice, especially if those at the top of Hindu society are happy to keep things the same. I've come across people that are actually still being discriminated against their caste. How can we as a Hindu community sort of, stop this from happening?
The reality on the ground can be really traumatic for a lot of people. But you said they're discriminated against on the basis of their caste. And I would dispute the use of that word. If I can use a really emotive word which has similar negative connotations, the African American community, they rejected the word because of the history associated with that word. It was an outrageous, a violent identity which created this word specifically so that even its articulation would make the other person diminished. And this word caste is as toxic for us. There is absolutely no record of a person attending a temple and having been discriminated against on the basis of caste. So if it does exist there and it is discrimination, then it needs to be addressed. We would suggest that the legislation, as it already exists, is sufficient because the legislation has got 9 protected characteristics, and those characteristics cover almost every part of these discriminatory events if they happen. But they are not on the basis of caste because we do not have a hereditary, hierarchical, endogamous structure, nor do we want one.
Having listened to stories of discrimination, it seems clear to me that many Hindus do believe there is a clear caste pyramid. But I don't think banning the use of the word caste will help those Hindus who feel they may be suffering from prejudice.